Welcome to Bridging the Gap. I'm your host, Audra Carter, here with my co-host, Jacqueline Miles. How you doing, Jackie?
I'm wonderful. How about you?
Yeah, we're going to do it again in February.
How you doing?
This is exciting. This is Black History Month, and we want to acknowledge many great leaders who have affected our community. In fact, we're going to be talking about the top 10 of those leaders and how they affect our community on a local level and what we should expect our children need to see in our leadership as we move forward. But I want to thank our guest again for coming back with us. They were so great. In January, we decided to do it again. And I'm so excited to have Pastor Young with me. I told him that people are going to say he waited a whole month to come back and be with me again. He had so much fun in January, so we decided to come back. Thank you so much. He is going to be our historian. He's going to tell you a lot about a lot of the leaders of the past, who many of them are not here anymore. Mm-hmm. But their legacy lives on. And also we have with us again, looking dapper. Hello, Dr. Brian Turner. How are you?
Good day. I'm well. Thank you for having me.
And he's going to share with us many of the things that they're doing out at UWF and a take on what kind of leadership are we looking for in the future. And then we're going to come back in the second segment and have some more of our community leaders to talk about that. But first, let's talk about leaders that we should acknowledge of the past and leaders of today. Would you like to kick that off, Dr. Young?
Yes, Dr. Michael D. Johnson, her pastor at 6th Avenue Baptist Church. We prayed for him, we boosted him, graduated from Florida State with honor. And then we told him to don't stop there, went on to Atlanta, master in union with PhD, and he's done a marvelous job. Took quite a few home around the church where they're selling drugs and things of this nature, and he's outstanding pastor and leader.
Thank you so much for that. Mm-hmm. Jackie, you have been here for years. You know, many leaders come and go in Pensacola, and I have to really lean on you about our leadership.
Well, I think one leader that I think that we could say, aside from Pastor Johnson, I think one of the leaders that I consider a leader in our community is Pastor Bernard Yates over at Zion Hope. Pastor Yates, he's been pastor there, and he's also president of the National Baptist Convention. And that in itself is a great leadership. And he's been, even though you don't necessarily see him out and about, he is one of those ministers that does work behind the scenes as well. So I would say that's I consider one of the leaders that's present. You want to say one of the leaders that's gone. God, we've got so many that's been gone.
Okay. A pastor that is gone is Pastor A.J. King.
Yes.
Of Greater Union. Another great leader who touched my life.
That's right.
You know, some people just see something in people, and those are the people who are gifted. Like my pastor also says, some people are not be in certain ministries. If you can't sing, don't get up in the choir. And same thing with people. If you're really not a people person and you can't stand the fire, as Dr. Brian will talk about, part of that is just loving and caring about people. And I'm going to swing the talk to how important is that?
Well, it's interesting as I hear you all talk about the local leadership, because I'm not a native Pensacolian. Since I've been here, though, the identity and role of Chappie James has been one that when I've talked to young men and women in and around Pensacola, his identity, and I'll swing from New Orleans and in my professional kind of discipline, I think of A.P. Turo, who actually was the first African-American to integrate Louisiana State University. And the path he took was such that he didn't even finish. He was so beaten and pushed out that he actually went back home and attended Xavier University. And so when I think about those things, and then I go big, for me, I think about the likes of Thurgood Marshall and his role in terms of the country and the steps he took to really battle on the front lines legally for us. And then for me personally, I think of Kenneth Clark and Mamie Clark, who instituted and did the doll studies and really played a really major role. So for me, those individuals stand out because they took the fight of the people to the front lines, and they actually began to institute policy and practice and made changes in places so that on a local level, we could continue to fight. I bring you greetings from the University of West Florida. I'm Dr. Brian Turner, and I am president of the Black Employees Association. We are here to celebrate the life, the legacy, and the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Hi, my name is Greg Strader. Brace recognizes our newest disaster preparedness partners, 6th Avenue Baptist Church, Englewood Baptist Church, Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church, St. Matthew's Baptist Church, Friendship Baptist Church, and Greater Union Baptist Church. Welcome, Brace partners.
Hello, my name is Jesse Walker. I'm the owner and director of the Virtual Gastric Bypass Weight Loss Center. We're here celebrating Black history and the many contributions that Black Americans have contributed to our daily lives.
And I know that we're going to wind down into another segment and bring into another leader in our community, but I'd like Jackie to kind of name for us some of the leaders of the past and present that are a part of our rich Black history.
We're going to start off with the first person that I've got on here is Carter G. Woodson. And Carter G. Woodson was a distinguished Black author. He was an editor and publisher and historian. I'm not going to give you a whole bunch about him, but he's one. We've got Frederick Douglass, and I think everybody knows about him. Mary McLeod Bethune. We've got her. We also have Colin Powell, who I think everybody knows about Colin Powell, Alphonso Jackson. We've got Rod Page, Clarence Thomas. We've got Michael Steele. And some people don't know about Michael Steele. He made history because he became the first African American that was elected to a Maryland statewide office, and he was the first ever Republican lieutenant governor in Maryland. So then we've got Michael L. Williams, and we've got Alveda King. We've got J. Kenneth Blakewell. We've got a number of people. And then, of course, I've got to add, we've got President Barack Obama, first African-American president. We've got J.C. Watts, Don King. Everybody knows Don King. He's the boxing guy who's made boxing really put on the thing. Then we've got Denzel Washington. We've got Sidney Poitier. We've got so many actors that opened the door for so many people. And we've got, aside from that, Lynn Swann, who was born in Alcoa, Tennessee. We've got so many people, Sammy Davis Jr., Edward William Brooks, William Thaddeus Coleman, just to name a few. We've got a lot of African Americans that we can say were great leaders, and they have been. And then along, even on the local level, we've got right now Captain Alexander, who's very instrumental in gangs. We've got my dad, Les Humphrey, who was the publisher of the Pensacola Voice that was here. We've got Reverend H.K. Matthews on the local level, that's here. I want to just give some kudos to our local people that are here, Audra, because we've got a lot of bridging the gaps that a lot of our people don't know about.
And we're going to come back talking about those local leaders in our community and what we can expect that we need to do to help our children become great leaders in just a minute. And we're back. We brought into the conversation another leader in our community. What, you missed me from January? You just had to come back again?
Yes, I did. I have enjoyed this so much that I thought I would just slide right back in. I mean, you couldn't have Reverend Young without me.
Oh, that's actually true. You two are kind of like sidekicks, huh? And the reason why we brought back Charles Jefferson, he has been relentless in working with children and raising money to help get them to school. And in our second segment, we're going to talk about leadership in our school and how do we show an example of good leadership as forth, because we know children watch what we do as they become leaders and demonstrate that in their lives by the adults that they're around. But I want to kind of segue back to what Jackie was saying. We were talking about local leaders. First of all, we want to do a disclaimer. We know there's a lot of leaders we're going to forget, right, Jackie?
This is true. So if we have not called your name, if I haven't called you, it's because I kind of went blank. I had a lot of you written down, and I left, and then I got here, and I got in front of this wonderful camera, and I went blank. So for those of you that I don't say your name, please forgive me. I'll print you in the paper for sure.
And I wanted to add that in terms of leadership locally, there are leaders who do different things. For instance, there are people in the media who we can say they have been long time, like Jackie and Les Humphreys and Robert Hill and Vern, and they came before me, and the gentleman who owns the newspaper,
Walter Leroy
and his brother.
And
Out Front
and
Magazine, and Spidell. These
Leroy,
are people who have been here
Magazine.
for years, who have paved the way for young newbies like me who are trying to stand on top of their shoulders and be a leader. And I don't think I could ever be a leader like them, but I can be the leader that God has called me to be. Right, Pastor?
That's right.
And see, I got Pastor, he's going to affirm that for me. So we wanted to kind of talk to Charles a little bit about leadership. And there's a lot of people, Charles, that you meet and have met that we have forgotten. Can you help us out?
Yes, I was listening to some of the people who have mentioned already, and just to kind of throw some people out, a person that I know that's been very active in our community is Elvin McCorvey. He's in NAACP, 100 Black Men. We have politicians, Marie Young, Jewel Canada Wynn, John Geralds. We have some special people, Mamie Hickson.
Yes.
At UWF.
Mamie goes to our church.
Mamie
church
is
member.
very active in our community.
Yes, she is.
She is a leader, as is Walter Gully, and as an educator, and someone who really set the table for the Pensacola community. Reverend H.K. Matthews is a person that we need to recognize and mention his name.
Now, remember, one of the most important things about leadership is that you are the example wherever you go. I tell my daughter this all the time. When you're out, you not only are responsible for what you do for yourself, but also you represent Mom and God and all others. And in the next segment, we're going to talk about our children and how we have either let them down in leadership or need to build them up in leadership. And we want you to stay with us because we're going to be right back.
I bring you greetings from the University of West Florida. I'm Dr. Brian Turner, and I am president of the Black Employees Association. We are here to celebrate the life, the legacy, and the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Hi, my name is Greg Strader. Brace recognizes our newest disaster preparedness partners, 6th Avenue Baptist Church, Englewood Baptist Church, Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church, St. Matthew's Baptist Church, Friendship Baptist Church, and Greater Union Baptist Church. Welcome, Brace partners.
Hello, my name is Jesse Walker. I'm the owner and director of the Virtual Gastric Bypass Weight Loss Center. We're here celebrating Black history and the many contributions that Black Americans have contributed to our daily lives.
Hi, we're back. And this segment, we're going to be talking to you about leadership, and we're going to be talking about our children, the future of our children, and exactly what type of leadership and how we have failed, and where we actually can pick the ball up to give our children true leadership. Is that right, Audra?
Absolutely. And I told Pastor Young at the end of the break, it's so important in Black History Month that we talk about that, because a lot of our children are places where we don't want them to be. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't get education. A lot of them don't have homes. A lot of them run away early. And I think, Pastor, it's not just the home, but it's also spiritual. Mm-hmm. And I really would like to hear from you about how do you think we can pick up the pieces and move forward with better leadership for our children? And I mean from parents on down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to start with the parents. Convince them that they need the Lord, and so do their children. The problem is today to keep the love of the children to their parents, many mothers and things that are giving them up to Sunday school with lesson being taught, and things of this nature, allowing them to lead themselves. We're lacking in fatherhood and motherhood. And in many cases, they're not good leaders.
Ooh, amen.
And the children are following them.
Yes.
Yeah. I took all this responsibility of getting folk out of jail, desegregation, and all these towns. I've done it. Yeah. And because I thank God, I've never been in jail, never been arrested, never. Yeah. Never had to drink nothing. I didn't know where I was.
Amen.
Amen, life.
Amen, life.
In many instances today, when socialism is bringing our children and parents down. Yeah.
Society,
You
yeah.
can't have a happy birthday like you got a happy what you call. And you may think, even if a child starts talking, that he's not learning from you.
Yes.
But he is.
Yeah. Yeah, he learned before he's able to speak. And it's a great job. You just got to keep praying and keeping the teaching. Every month I feed over 200 people that are hungry. And I try to lecture to men at my church. Yeah. They come in and get that food and or even come back and say thanks. Yeah.
A few years ago, I became interested in my family history, my direct family history. And what I've found is that traditions and the things that I learned at my parents' and grandparents' knee, these things are not being continued as much as they should be. Those kinds of things. We have a tradition. We had a tradition as a younger person where you did not interrupt an older person. You did not come up and jump into an older person's conversation. We had tradition. You came to the table and you sat down. Those kinds of things. Traditions, I think, is the way that we need to get family and traditions associated with family. Right now, our kids are being taught by television, by other sources, videos, and things like that.
That's right.
They're not getting their basic, fundamental knowledge from parents and older people around them.
Jackie, you and I was talking about the difference between a balanced child is a child that has the nurturing at home, loving parents, and I believe that they have to have school and education, but they also have to have spiritual education. Yeah. And I think Jackie can say, way back then, my mother made it a point to take us to church, and I used to ask her when she would take me dragging and screaming, "Mom, why do I have to go to church?" She says, because in church is where you learn principles that you will never learn anywhere else.
I bring you greetings from the University of West Florida. I'm Dr. Brian Turner, and I am president of the Black Employees Association. We are here to celebrate the life, the legacy, and the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
And we're back wanting to bring in the conversation Dr. Brian Turner from UWF. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been at UWF now almost 5 years. I'm a psychologist in the Counseling Center. I'm currently the president of the Black Employees Association. I do a whole bunch of other things that just take forever to try to explain. So at this point, I just like to say, in the spirit of what we're doing, I'm a servant leader. And in listening to the segment and much of what we've talked about today and through other conversations, it really strikes me that we all are on one accord. And at the point of consensus is that we have to remind ourselves that we have to plan for the next generation. Mm-hmm. And as I sit here and I think about the title of what we do, Bridging the Gap, and I think about those who stood in the gap for me and those who I stand on their shoulders, the biggest thing that I recognize for any student, any person, any family, there has to be a plan for success. So if you think about the word succession planning, we use that when people die, but it really means success. You plan for success. And if you think about our families and our communities, we've kind of gotten away from planning for success, and we've actually planned for destruction. And for me, I've actually taken on a greater role with mentorship, a greater role with leadership with students, and providing them that access to success. And I was sharing earlier the concepts of the residuals of racism, and that much of what I continue to see both in my practice, but also just in the work I do, is that we continue to see that racism is alive, and it frightens people. It creates a trauma, it creates a wound, and we're not healing. And as a psychologist, I think that's one of the things I promote to people, and we know in communities of color, seeing a psychologist means you're crazy. However, that's not true. Normally, if you don't see a psychologist, you're going to wind up crazy. But in terms of really looking at the multiple ways to get support through spiritual leaders, through mental health professionals, yes, through success. And I think for me, when I think about leadership, it really starts with the idea of who are you serving? And if you're not serving someone, then you're not serving yourself.
Jackie, and I'm saying to you, our viewership, and I'm just going to put it plain, what kind of leader are you being? Because one of the challenges is we've seen leaders who stepped in positions, and when they got into positions, they didn't lead. They had self-serving agendas. Our children watch that. And what do we do, Pastor Young, when there's a leader who is supposed to be in service in an important position, and then they're leading in the wrong direction? And I know you're the right person to ask that question. And I'm going to say amen to myself.
Find a chair for him, let him sit down.
In the back of the room. In the back of the room.
Yeah,
Put that chair in the back of the room. I would chime in with that I think that's also been a part of that failure to plan for success, is that we don't always recognize the qualities of a leader. And so when we have been like Pastor Young or Dr. King or Chappie James, they stand out far and above others. And it's easy to give them that title, to anoint them, so to speak. But it's along that pathway, and I think that's really where I see young people struggle now, is that we may anoint a younger person to leadership and they're not ready. And they are on that path now, and then you have someone else who may need a little more encouragement, or someone who is from an underserved or underprivileged background, and just because they didn't come from the right side of the tracks, or they don't have the right hair texture, or they don't have the right skin color, or they just whatever, we may discard them. And I think that's one of the things that I practice. I don't throw people away, and I try to maintain relationships and sustain relationships to where, to meet Pastor Young in my short time here, I hope to continue to learn under the student leadership, whatever I can. It doesn't have to be a pastor. That just might not be my calling. And my mom probably is glad I said that. but just an understanding, there's so much that can be learned from relationships. And so for me, I think that becomes that piece of really understanding everybody has something to offer and something to contribute.
Audra, before we really want to wrap this up, I want to address this to some parent out there that's sitting here saying, how am I going to determine if my child is a leader? If you have a child that you find that you see this child going in a direction that nobody else is going, 9 times out of 10, you've got a leader on your hands. And what you've got to do is start training that child and have that child focus in a certain direction to have him going in the right way. He's not the normal child. This is the first sign of a leader. The leader never does what all the other children does. He's never a follower. He's always the one to lead somebody to do something else. Good, bad, or indifferent. You've got a leader. So now you've got to figure out, parents, how you're going to make this child or bring this child. Find organizations. Find something that he can get involved in.
And to that, with organizations, I'm glad that was perfect, because that's what I was thinking, is that continuing to find those organizations. So yes, the NAACP, the 100 Black Men of Pensacola, Movement for Change, Southern Poverty Law Center, being a part of educational stuff. I'm a former athlete. I played college football. Being an athlete, being involved with so many different things, being in the church, there's so many organizations. And one of the things I try to do, and this is because I don't have a lot of money, I try to do things inexpensively. And there's so many things, as I think Pastor Young was saying earlier, that it becomes, I can't have a happy birthday unless I have a happy pocket. Well, it's time out for that, and it's time to start getting back to being able to do things that really promote growth as opposed to wealth.
And so for those of you out there, one of the most important things you can teach your child, and they're talking about it all over the country, is learning how to volunteer. Dr. Turner mentioned servant leader. Pastor Young understands all too well that servant leadership is important. But children ask the question, well, what is it when I don't see you doing it? So one of the challenges that we have is to put our children in situations where they can see good leaders and learn a distinction between the two. Even if a person doesn't have good leadership at home, they don't have a mom or dad, they have a single mom or single dad raising them, or auntie or uncle or other, it is our responsibility as parents to put in their lives people who can lead them and give them good examples.
Mentors.
Or mentors. In my daughter's life, and I know she always gets mad when I bring her up, I tried to put her in good situations. Pastor Young, at a very young age, he just took her over one day, sat her down, and became Pawpaw. I didn't ask him. That was just his thing. And today, she is a vibrant, wonderful 18-year-old, crazy, just like the rest of them, but nonetheless able to be launched. And so we're asking you to take from this knowledge and these good, great people here, and be with your child and seek help and seek a well-balanced environment. If you don't have one at home, please contact any church, any pastor. Pastor Young is great at mentoring, and any of the leaders we talked about during this Black History Month. We thank you so much for being with us. Jackie, girl, you're all right. Like the kids say, yeah. and Brian, you are beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on with us last month. And most of all, our honoree, we love you.
God bless. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you so much for being with us. Love somebody on this week. Remember, we are the leaders that we are by how we treat each other. I'm Audrey Carter, thanking you for being with us, and we'll see you on next month.